Hello everyone and welcome back to Happening by Chance. My name is Mariana and today I am here with a VR. This is a completely impromptu video. I have just been watching responses to this tag, which is not at all new. Please excuse the plane noises. There are many planes going by and I'm not going to close my window because it is beyond hot. So the VR I'm going to do is to Moon in Tarot, and it is the top 10 modern pips or modern pip decks. I'm going to put the hashtag in the title. So as the name suggests, we are going to look at modern pip decks. There have been several VRs. I think I have watched all of them and I was inspired to do my own. As I said, this is not a new VR, but I'm going to do it now. So I have been thinking about how I want to go about this tag, because this might come as a surprise to you, but I really struggle with pip decks. I have many, but I struggle with them. And when I say pip decks, I mean non-Marseille, non-Italian, non-classic pip decks. I love modern decks, but I love modern decks that are based on the classic patterns. Italian, Marseille, etc. And so, for instance, there have been people who have shown the Radiant Tarot, which I'm going to show you just because I modded it and I like how it looks. So a lot of people have shown this one, for instance, and while I love it visually, and I did do some readings with this when I was beginning before learning Marseille, I struggle with it now, and that is because I struggle with pips with feelings. I prefer pip decks that are what people call lazy pips. I really don't like that name because though I agree that many times publishers do lazy pips, meaning that it is easier, it is faster, and that way they can get like a tarot out really fast. I don't think everyone does them because of that. There are plenty of older decks like the Magic of Tarot or the Golden Tarot or many other pip decks. I feel like there used to be a lot of pip decks in the past, and though like maybe there was a component of the publishers wanting the deck to come out faster, I also think that they are not necessarily lazy. Liz Dean has a lot of really fabulous pip decks that I don't think are lazy at all, even if they are not with feelings. There is, for instance, the Dragon Tarot that I also have and I love. And in that one, though the pips are really, like, they are all the same, the pip figures, the backgrounds all form scenes. So if you put together all the cards of the swords, all the cards of the pentacles, etc., you get a full background, a full landscape. Even if the pips are just, as people call them, lazy. So I really don't like that name, and I think that also that comes from the fact that people don't like pip decks, and so they find those decks harder to read, and so it's like pejorative to make decks like that. And for me, that I read principally, I don't know, I mostly read with Marseille and Italian decks, specifically Italian decks. I should say Italian and Marseille because Italian is my preference. For me, that I read mostly with those. it's easier for me to read with pips that are just the pips rather than having a symbol here that implies a meaning. With something like this, it's easier because since I already see the source as an aggressive suit, if you have like a sad looking bird, it makes sense. But when you have like the ones that are also an aggressive suit and it's something soft and pretty, it just, I struggle because I don't know if I want to read this like an RWS, which is heavily implied because of the pip feelings thing, or if I want to read it like I would any other Italian Marseille or pip style deck. So that's why I struggle with them. So this one I was just showing as I talked because again, it's really pretty and I really love how it looks without the borders. As you know, I love borders in decks. I don't trim everything, but there are some decks that do look really good trimmed. So yeah, I just wanted to show this while I talked. So before I start with my top 10, I'm going to show you just really quickly, right? Obviously, my preferred modern pip decks that I love and I work with all the time would be decks like the Minchiate di Marzo, which I have showed many times in my channel, like the Maria Celia, which I love as well, like the Snail Marseille, which I recently did a flip through of here in my channel, or I don't know, or like the Great Parade by Ian Comsey, who is my favorite modern deck creator. This type of deck would be my preference in terms to work with in terms of modern pip decks. But when I hear top modern pip decks, for some reason it feels a bit like jarring to me conceptually to show modern decks that are based on classic patterns, because in my brain these type of decks belong in like Marseille collection videos. Like for instance Justin Michael, who I really miss his videos. Justin Michael, for instance, he had years ago he did like his collection and he separated the collection in historical classical decks and modern reinterpretations of the historicals, right? Or modern depictions of the historicals. So for me that's how my brain makes sense of it, and these to me are part of my historical collection, even though they are modern, because they are modern depictions of historical patterns, and that's what I like about them. So when I hear modern pips, I think other types of pips that are not classic patterns. So I wanted to show you top 10 decks that are not classic pattern. I tried to find 10 that are actual favorites. I did want to show you actual favorites, but because I do struggle with pip decks, I think I'm going to show you in my top 10, I think 2 maybe, that are based on more classical patterns, though not Marseille pattern. I think 2 or 3 at the most. All of the others are other types of pip decks, and though they are actual favorites, like top 10 for sure, not all of them are favorites because I love reading with them. They are favorites in different categories. So I wanted to show you that because I don't think all decks should be favorites because you read a lot with them. I feel like you have different decks for different reasons, and that's okay. And that's what I wanted to focus on today. So I am going to show you ones, some that I love reading, but others that are more because of other things. So since we are already in the topic of pip decks, pip decks, yes, and in the topic of what people call lazy pips, um, I'm going to show you one like that. That is my favorite. That I've actually never used for readings, but it is fairly new, so I do want to use it for readings. I did buy it for reading, but it is my favorite because I bought it sort of as a creative project. There are some decks that I have bought, not all of them, but some that I have bought as like creative projects, because when I see them, I instantly think of, oh, I would have so much fun modding the deck in a specific way. And so that's why I get them. So I keep it in this crochet pouch that my mom made for me, that is way too big for, because she made it for another deck which I used to keep here, but I now keep in the box. And this is the Lunar something or other. I'm going to put the name on screen because I actually don't have the box and I don't remember what it's called. And this is how it looks in the front. It's one of those Chico Books decks, like the Dragon Tarot, like the Golden Tarot, those types of decks. And this is how it looks. Actually, this card is one of the main reasons why I love it, because it reminds me of Fitz and Night Eyes, even though Fitz is not blonde, but whatever. So this is how it looks, and it has like the title and keywords, and I didn't want the title and keywords, and I loved the art, and I thought it would look so cool completely trimmed, because it's one of those that it's just super easy to read with, right? Like there's no mistaking what card everything is. And I bought specifically both two things. One is to trim it, as you see, but also to edge it in a sparkly permanent marker. So I'm not crazy about how it turned out, because it turns out that these metallic permanent markers, they come across in different ways. Like, do you see it? They look like different colors. I don't know if the camera is catching that, but I like it anyway. And I bought this to use mainly in the winter, like in December. And so I don't know, I think I bought it in December, and I was trimming it, or my mom was trimming it, and I was edging it and all that, and so I didn't get a chance to use it this December, so I'm waiting for next December. The only pip that's giving me a bit of pause is the ones, because they are more like magic ones. The others are fine in terms of like how I interpret, but in this case I feel like, so I usually interpret ones, as you know, as like obstacles when they are crossed. In this case, like, yes, they're crossed, but I don't know if I would interpret as like obstacle as such. But because it's obstacle, and then I kind of like mind map my pip functions, I will do a video about that eventually. So eventually, by like mind mapping the functions of the pips, I get to effort and work. And as you know, like, other people associate the ones with work, and so to me the magic ones would fit, because it is kind of like, it does require like work, like effort to I don't know, to learn a magic spell, to cast a magic spell. Like, it's not just like that, you know. If you're reading a fantasy novel, the good fantasy novels are the ones where there's still struggle, right? It's not just like cling, magic wand, everything's fixed. And so it's still effort, it's still work. So that's how I am viewing it. So I do think I'll be able to read with this. So again, this is a Lunar something or other. I will put everything in the description and everything. So next let's do one that is an old favorite that I used to use all the time. It was featured on my Instagram a lot in the beginning days, in the early days of my Instagram. And I don't use it as much anymore, precisely because I learned to read classic pips, and I don't know, it hasn't called to me anymore, but I was thinking I should pull it out and try to read with it because it is an old favorite. I do really love it. And that is the Tarot of the Four Elements. And this one is actually one that I had bought with the intention of trimming. When I bought it, I was going to trim this and make it into a thin deck. And I don't hate the idea. I am curious how it would look. You know how some people have like versions, like two versions of the same deck in order to trim one and then keep the other one? I would be tempted to do this with this one. I should look if it's still available because I don't know, it's just it, or maybe not, I don't know. Anyway, the reason why I didn't end up trimming it is something that I highly recommend when you're reading pip decks, is having an identifier of what the pips are. So one thing that I struggle with pip decks that are not classic style is that they have all, like the pips are all over the place, kind of like in the Thoth, for instance, which I'm not going to get into it at the moment, but you don't know what pip are you looking at. That's one of the problems, right? When I can't tell what pip it is. That's one of the problems with non-clone RWS decks, that you don't know what minor you are looking at straight at a glance. And for the way I read, which I read cards as like reading, I need to know at a glance, right? It would be like reading a book in the windings or webdings or whatever font, right? I need to read it with a legible font. And so when you have a deck like this, where the pips can be a little bit wacky, it's really helpful to have borders that identify the suit. Now, I obviously don't read elementally anymore, so I don't do the like earth, wind, etc. Or air, earth, air. Clearly I don't do the elemental thing anymore. But this one is the tarot of the four elements, so they are identified by their element. And I used to use this all the time whenever I was feeling sick. This was like my fiery deck to pick me up. And it always happens, right? Whenever you flip through an old favorite, you're like, I should use this more. And I think I could use this the way that I would use a Thoth deck, right? Like for instance, here you have the cups and they are placed in a way where they're like expanding in a circle, right? So like that would give something to my reading. Yeah, I should try to use this deck again. So this is the tarot of the four elements, and these are the backs. Is it by Ina Segal maybe? I'll put all the information down below. So since we are on the mass market train, let's finish with the mass markets, and let's do another one that is my favorite because of two things. One is because the majors, the illustrations in the majors are very nostalgic in a very picture book kind of way. Like that type of illustration is very much like from my childhood. And then the other reason is because the pips follow the German style, and it's the only deck I have with pips in the German style, and it is the Fairy Tarot by Los Carabeo. This one is actually one that I waited for. I had been lusting over this deck since I first found out about it, but it was one of those with like the titles on the sides, and then I saw that Los Carabeo was coming up with a newer version where it was just like regular white borders without all the titles. So this is the art in the majors. The only thing I don't like is that the art in the minors changes the art style, and I don't know why that is. Like the chords remain the same style, but the pips, they like the drawings are different. They're like softer quality. I don't know. It's a different style. So as you can see, you have leaves. Here you can see back to the same style. You have leaves. You have bells. I think that's the name in English. You have leaves, you have bells. I have all the minors here. You have hearts. Here you can see like the difference in styles, right? And you have acorns. And this, again, I love that this is the only deck I have with the German, that follows the German pips. I should really, or I should, not that I should, like you shouldn't do anything, right? But I really want like a classic deck that has the Germanic pips. But in the meantime, I'm just super happy with this one. I love this one so much. I really should use it more. Meg recently talked about this in a video where she said that every time you do a VR or a video, you're like, I should use this more, I should use this more, I'm going to keep this out, I'm going to keep this out. So that is like, look at this hermit. Like, isn't he adorable? I love this deck so much. Yeah, so this is the oh, and these are the backs, which I also prefer because the backs of the older edition I don't like. This is the Fairy Tarot by Antonio Lupatelli by Los Carabeo. There's also the Gnome Tarot, and I believe the majors are the same, but the minors change. And I would also like the tarot, even if the majors are the same. The minors are different. But yeah, so this is the Fairy Tarot. Okay, so the next mass market I'm going to show, I love because it's one of my Christmas decks. I use it a lot during December time, and I struggle with it, but I use it a lot. And it is the Golden Tarot of the Tsar. So the reason why I struggle with this one is because it is a pip deck, but there are small scenes with the pip cards. So I'm sure you have seen this one. this is how the pips look. So they have small scenes within them. I feel like I have found a way that works for me with this, and I was recently thinking, and I came up with a way to read with these types of decks that I want to try when I pull this out in December. But as you can see, it's a pip deck. It just has small scenes that, I mean, you could ignore, but like, I don't I can't ignore if something is in the card, you know. So this is the Golden Tarot of the Tsar, and it's published by artwork by Atanasov, but it is published by Los Craveo. Oh, okay, Los Craveo. I guess I really like Los Craveo decks. And these are the backs. This is such a beautiful deck. Okay, so let's do the last two mass market decks, and they are an Italian mass market and a French mass market. I believe it is mass market, the French one. The Italian for sure is mass market. And those are the two that are based on classical patterns, not Marseille patterns, but classical patterns. So I would count those amongst my collection of classical historical pip decks, but they are modern interpretations. Actually, one of them you will have seen in my first how to Marseille video, even though this is not a Marseille pattern. I only use the aces because they were really great for the video. So let's start with the Italian one that for sure is mass market, and that is the Tarocchi della Fortuna. The box barely fits. This is one of those larger Del Vecchi decks. I love this publisher, but I hate their boxes. And so this one, as I said, you will have seen, you already saw it if you saw my my Marseille how to, the first video. And as you can see, the swords, like, it's not a classic Marseille pattern, but it's a really cool deck. I don't understand why the box is like pink and yellow, and then inside the box is more like jewel tones. But again, as you can see, like, it is a pip deck. I would consider it like a classic, more classic pips, but it's not necessarily Marseille. But it's as I said, one of the two that I'm going to show you that are like that. And these are the backs. This is a super cool deck, and I bought it, like, you can buy it, like, it's mass market, Italian mass market, but you don't have to buy it in the Italian Amazon. I didn't buy it in the Italian Amazon. That would have cost a lot of shipping for me to Mexico. So, you know, I think you must be able to find it in the Amazon of whatever country you are in. But yeah, this is the Tarocchi della Fortuna. I really love it. I really love her outfit. I would love the, like, I want this skirt, right? Okay, so the next one is the French, I believe it's mass market. I'm not sure, I might have shown it previously in my channel, and it is the Tarot de Marseille revisité, revisited and drawn, designed by Frederick Agid, and yeah, it is mass market, but I got this one used, so I didn't get it as mass market, but I got it used, but it is mass market. And this one is not classical pattern, but classical Marseille, I mean, but it is more like classic. I do consider it part of my classic collection. So these are the swords, these are the ones. The people are like this, more like cartoony. And these are the coins. And as you can see, the swords are just like a different pattern, the coins as well. But it's really adorable. The cups, again, like it doesn't follow a traditional pattern. I guess this one would be the less. I don't know why I do consider this one amongst my classic collection, even though it's like clearly not. But you know, it's one of my favorite modern Pip decks. It does fit well with this category. These are the bags. I don't know why they went with the navy blue for the bags, but I mean, sure. Okay guys, let's do another French one that used to be mass market but is now out of print, and then the last three are still in print. So I keep it in this pouch, and it is Le Tarot du Chien, which is the tarot of the dog. I think this used to be an Italian edition as well, but I've only seen the French edition. I saw this in Marine's channel, and I have been looking for it for so long. You have no idea how long I've looked for this deck. But I feel like after I finally found it and bought it, I suddenly found it in other shops. Has that ever happened to you? Where you are looking for a deck and you can't find it anywhere, and then you find it a couple of times. So these are the cups, these are the coins. Like, look at the world. Oh, it's so cute. These are the ones, and these are the swords. And as you can see, again, the pattern is just, it doesn't follow a classic Pip pattern, but because it's just the pips, then it's easy to read. And the back just look like this. So let's stay in the European continent, and that one is a favorite because of the book. So the deck, you will see when I show you, is not necessarily so I love the art, I love the concept, but it has a lot of keywords. You will see I don't, yeah. But the creator, the artist and creator of the deck, and like the writer, Maya Bayona, I am the biggest fangirl for Amaya Barahona. And actually, that deck, I'm going to show it to you. So it's called Tarot Barahona. Barahona, Amaya Barahona is the creator. The box looks like this. I forgot to bring the book, and the book is, the edges of the book have this pattern. So you have the pips like this, and as you can see, it's like a lot of keywords, and then the titles, and you have like all the triumphs are changed, but from a very studied way. Amaya Barahona is super smart, super knowledgeable. She is a feminist. She is anti-capitalist, just like overall, I love her. Okay, I love her. And so she knows a lot about the history of tarot. She knows a lot about the history of feminism. She knows a lot about cultural stuff. She's very much involved in like the artisan, like promoting an artisanship in Spain. She's Spanish. This is a Spanish deck. This is why it was so expensive. When I wrote to her on Instagram, she was like, "It's going to be very expensive. I'm sorry." I was like, "I know, like." It's worth it. It's one of those things where I just needed her book. These Are the Cups. So again, as I was saying, when she talks about the deck, I feel like she promotes the book she wrote, for which she created a deck. Like that's how she markets it. I should have brought the book. It is a fantastic book. It's all highlighted, flags. I taught like a workshop, a tarot workshop for my friends. It was just like a for fun type of a thing, and I used Amaya's book so much. Anyway, so as I said, all the triumphs are changed, but it is in a very studied way that it makes sense. It makes sense as like a historical evolution, to make it current, to make it left, and feminist. I mean, I feel that's like that's evident, right? If it's feminist, or not necessarily. Like I'm not going to go into that. So I love it, but I don't use it a ton because it's not really a type of deck that's easy for me to read with. I feel like she created it like this. I'm not going to go into that because I really do have to go. So these are the backs, and I love it so much, and the book is just amazing. And she has amazing videos in her channel. Her older videos, she has some fantastic videos. If you just dig through like older videos, she has a video about like mediumship and feminism. She has a video about rock, like the link between rock and magic, something like that. Amazing, just fantastic channel. So just 2 more decks to go. Let's do one more overseas, and then let's bring it back to the American continent. So I'm going to show you this one really quick because it was already shown in Luna's video. You should go watch her at Water Moon Cards. I love her so much. She has a fantastic channel. I was so happy to see her return to YouTube. And it is, it's the Dinosaur Marseille, Le Dinosaur de Marseille by Anastasia Kashian. And I don't use this one a lot. I have used this one I did a tarot fortune telling themed birthday party last year, and I put out like a lot of options of decks, and I specifically chose this one when I put it in the options because my brother-in-law was coming to the event. I mean, it was just like a small reunion with friends. He was coming, and I thought, okay, he's going to love this one, and of course, this is the one he chose. So I feel like people have already seen this one. I don't use it much because the pips look like this, and even though they are explained, it's still a bit harder to read for me. Um, However, I have thought about making this like a majors only, but with all the extras that make it like, I love that it has like the four humors. Anyway, I'm rambling. So the pips, this is how they look. You should go watch Luna's video. She explained the pips and everything and the structure of the deck. The reason why this one is a favorite, these are the backs, is because of the concept. I love this one because this is what I wish existed more in the world. I really, really wish that Marseille was not so feared. And by Marseille, I mean classic pips. I just, Marseille is like the shorthand that Tarot uses. I wish that people were not so scared, that there wasn't such shade towards it. I could do a full video just ranting about the way. Anyway, if it was more commercial, I feel like more creators would do things like this, right? How many clones do you have of the RWS in different themes with different concepts? I love them. I love them. I wish that was the same for classic pips. That is why I have so many French, Italian, and like decks from Europe, because in Europe people do more stuff like this. And I really, really wish that it was done here as well. And it makes me sad. So that's why this is a favorite. I didn't buy it because I'm like a dinosaur person. I bought it because I think it's first of all, I think it's super well done. Like the majors, the way the dinosaurs she chose, the paleontology judgment card kills me. It's amazing. It's super well done, right? It's like a Maya Baraonas deck. It's like really, really well executed, really well conceptualized, really fantastic. But also, I really like supporting people that are doing modern interpretations of the classical decks. And finally, back to the American continent. I shouldn't have. Actually, now that I think of it, is it back to the American continent? It doesn't matter. I bought it from a shop in the US. Like, it might be French. Whatever. I should have left this deck for the final deck because this is my favorite and I'm hungry and I have to go. And when I say my favorite, I mean it is a top 10 deck just in general, not just like top 10 pips. And there's the Leave the Ghost Tarot. I feel it was produced by Tarot Stack, right? So it is American continent. I think I've shown this before because this one is my Cozy Inner Child deck. And also I know I've shown these backs. I use this one a lot. I read with this one a lot. It is weird. I do think it's a pip. I guess it would be debatable if it would be pips or not. For me, I do think it's pips. So this is, the majors look like this, but this is how the pips look. Some of the pips have multiple elements and some of them are like this. This is a 10 of cups. I get that this is not for everyone because it's not named, the suit is not named, and they don't follow like a particular system. This is like this one, for instance, makes sense. This is the 8 of Pentacles. This is the 8 of Wands. This is the 7 of Swords. But look at this one. This is the 8 of Swords. So here you do have multiple swords. The Fool, the 2 of Cups. I feel like it's not that hard to understand, but I understand why there is maybe some hesitation and it's not as popular. It is strange. This is the 6 of Pentacles, which just makes sense, right? Like the sharing. I do feel like it's very RWS meaning, but I don't mind because it is super weird. So there's no confusion for me in terms of like, should I read this like a pip deck or should I read this like a RWS? I don't know if it can be considered a pip deck, like now that I'm looking at it. But for instance, look at this one, right? So this one does feel more pippy, and it is the 3 of Cups. So I'm going to leave it here, okay? I feel like everyone shared a deck in their tag that was a bit on the questionable, like, is this pip type of a thing? Anyway, I read with this all the time. It speaks to me. I feel like it speaks my language. Oh, but I was saying that I understand why people would be hesitant about it. It did take me a long time to buy it. I fell in love with the majors since I first saw it. It's etched in purple. I fell in love with the majors since I first saw it. Like, look at the tower. Is not that not the most inner child thing you have ever seen? I fell in love with the majors since I first saw it, but I was, I guess, more I don't know, I had less time reading tarot, right? And so I thought I would not be able to read with it. And then when I had more time reading, I have been reading, I think, 6 years. I always feel like I'm still a beginner, and the other day I realized that I've been reading for 6 years. So once I had more time, I remembered this deck because it has always called to me. And I watched the flip through again, and I realized, no way, this does actually speak to me a lot. And so I got it, and I am so happy I did. It was also pricey because I don't tend to buy decks from the US and get them shipped to Mexico. I usually ship them to family members, friends, or like people I know in the US who can bring them to me when they come visit. But this one, I was feeling really down. It was like after the surgery, and this just speaks to me. It speaks to my inner child. It's really comforting for me. So I really wanted it, and so I bought it to Mexico, and it was expensive to ship, and there were taxes. And you know, nowadays with the whole tariff thing, it's more expensive. But I don't regret it, like, for a single day, because it's just, I love this deck so much. And again, this is the Leave It the Ghost Tarot, and this is published by Tarot Stack, and the artist goes by Leave It the Ghost on Instagram. Her name is Ariel. That's the only thing about this deck. It's not very readable. The font, it's handwritten, which is it fits the deck, but it's hard to read. So she goes by Libet the Ghost on Instagram. And again, this is favorite, not just in terms of like this tag, just in general. Easy top 10 favorite decks. One of the decks I could not live without. And that would be it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you soon in another video, and in the meantime I wish you happy reading, whether that be card reading, book reading, weather patterns, charms, pendulum, dice, whatever form of reading you prefer.